Pressing record now. Okay, hi everybody. Thanks for getting on tonight's webinar. I'm so happy that we have such a large group of FITs that will be training this fall. As I'm sure you've already listened to or participated in a webinar previously, I'm going to exclude some of the nitty-gritty details that we may have talked about on those other webinars. My goal through this webinar is to really help you understand your resources, expectations, and prepare you to be the best facilitator and training possible. You were all chosen to be a fit for a reason, and we believe that the skills you make, or the skills that make you the perfect facilitator, are the skills that you currently possess. And this is truly a life-changing CAPA program right now. So you were all selected for a specific reason. And so I'm really excited to have such a strong group of facilitators to get a strong group of facilitators for this upcoming spring or fall. So I'm going to teach you a lot through this quick webinar, and as you can see, here is today's agenda. So as long as you can see the agenda, we should be in good shape. Can you raise your hand if you can see it? Awesome, that means this is working. We will discuss a whole bunch of things from locations to the different responsibilities between being a facilitator, also being a fit, travel, any event logistics, etc. So as you can see, there are 7 locations this fall. You each have been matched to one of these locations. So Tulsa, Loyola Chicago, Minnesota, Arkansas, UC Berkeley, Santa Clara, Trinity, and New York University. Tulsa and UC Berkeley, Santa Clara, Trinity, and NYU are all first-time hosts. Loyola Chicago, Minnesota, and Arkansas have hosted for a number of years previously. So they are well-oiled machines when it comes to this program. UC Berkeley and Santa Clara are actually 2 chapters that are hosting this program combined together with 4 alumni associations. So they also are a very unique situation as well. So we're going to talk a little bit about what the difference between a facilitator versus a fit is. As of now, the training for our facilitators is more shadow-based. So we don't really have a formal training program. That is something that I am working on. We have launched, it's called our EME, Every Member Education, and right now that's open just to new members. But that's soon going to be open to all members, and that will have various resources and a whole bunch of other things within it. And so that is going to be something that will be really beneficial for us because I will be able to develop online curriculum and you'll be able to take certification courses through that. And so that will be what our next steps are going to be with this facilitator training so that we make sure that you are also taking those online courses as well as doing webinars like this in addition to doing a shadow opportunity. FIT really is there to learn. You are going to learn how to facilitate this program and become familiar with the curriculum. So that is really your biggest job. You should go into this experience having read the curriculum previously. You should also make sure that you feel as though you are prepared. I will tell you, when you look at this program on paper, you don't really understand it until you see it in person. That's totally okay. I don't want you to feel like you need to be prepared with regards to logistics, but I do want you to be prepared when it comes to the content of the curriculum. Please note that the FIT is not intended to run errands or be the program staff that we have for the event. FIT is truly there, again, to learn, to take it all in, to be overseeing not only logistics, but also to see what lead facilitators are doing, to see what small group facilitators are doing, to see how the event staff is running, how meals are coordinated, all of that, so that you can really take that opportunity and learn as much as you can. I know in the past, chapters have been like, oh, shoot, we need somebody to go pick up the pizza for lunch. Oh, hey, facilitator in training, you don't really have a job. Will you go do that? You absolutely have a job. So please feel free to tell them no, that they have event staff for a reason and they need to utilize that event staff. Like I said, you should shadow your facilitators throughout the entire weekend full of activities. I'm sorry, I think one of my dogs knocked something over. That was what that loud noise was. And as I talked to each of you a little bit about this when I was doing the interviews with you, We want you to determine whether you want to be a lead 1, whether you want to be a lead 2, or whether you would be okay doing both. So that's definitely something to please keep in mind. That's not something that I expect you to know right off the top of your head. I know that some of you had already kind of determined on the phone with me which would probably fit your skill set better, but you never know until you actually see it. So please keep that in mind when you're there, that as you're seeing lead 1 do things, or as you're seeing lead 2 do things, we want to make sure that you're trying to figure out what's going to work best for your skill set moving forward. I will do a debrief with each of you after your event and just make sure that we're all on the same page, that you really do still want to be involved with a program, and that in addition to being involved with a program, you want to do X or Y role. You should be on all communication to and from the chapters, from the leads, from the chapters, from the associations. Anything that the lead facilitators are getting, you should also be getting. We want to make sure that you're seeing what those communications look like, how far in advance we need to be communicating, what point in time do we start talking about certain topics, etc. So please keep that in mind as well. Fit qualities. So things that we looked at, and qualities isn't really the correct word. It needed to be characteristics, but we were looking for some previous facilitation experience, knowledge of the Girls Academy program or Kappa education programs, experience with grade school children in some way, shape, or form. We also were potentially looking for somebody who had been a teacher or is currently a teacher, somebody who tutors, etc. Looking for somebody who is a great communicator, I can't even say that word. You know what I'm trying to say. Adaptable and flexible, personable and organized. Middle school girls sometimes are not the easiest individuals to work with. So you want to make sure that when you leave this program, you still feel comfortable working with them. It is 100% okay for you to look at me and say, Hillary, I meet all of those characteristics, but this program is just not for me. Totally okay. That's all you need to tell me, and there will be no more questions asked. You all have access to the Kappa Cloud. I'm going to touch on that a little bit later. But that Kappa Cloud, you'll log in using your member information to log into the member website. And there will be job descriptions in the Kappa Cloud. Please take a look at that. Again, I felt like I did a good job vetting you on the phones and really giving you a bigger picture of what this program looked like and what we were expecting and what your responsibilities were. But that's very detailed. And so I think that that would be helpful for each of you to have as well. The roles of the facilitator. So while you are not necessarily the facilitator this time around, you very possibly could be the facilitator in the spring or even next fall. We did discuss that if we were going to train you, we would like you to do 2 Girls Academy events in the next 2 years. So that could happen this spring if you're up for it, or it could happen next academic year. You are expected to assist the chapter and alumni association with the planning process for GA. So you really keep them on track. You need to have continual check-ins, those phone calls, webinars, emails, whatever works best for you. But we want to make sure that we are keeping them on track and that they're planning as they should be. They should be following the event manual. They should be following the event timeline with regards to when things need to be planned and when they don't need to be planned, or we can wait until 4 weeks out for X, Y, and Z, but we need to be 6 months out for A, B, and C. So those are things that you really are the driving force with that. I do provide support from headquarters, but I provide very minimal support. This is a program in a box. I know a lot of you probably heard that on the webinars that I had last week. So I will send all of the registration materials, the supplies, the curriculum, etc. But when it comes to the logistics and making sure that everything is put together, that's on you. I really just deal with getting them all of the stuff that they need, making sure they have a middle school, and making sure that their money has been fundraised. I will step in if need be. I know there are some girls' academies that will CC me on every email exchange that they have, and there are others that I don't know if they happen until after the weekend is over. I presume that if no news is good news. So just make sure that you're communicating with me if there are any larger issues, but for the most part, you are the driving force when it comes to the planning. Lead one will also conduct a pre-training for the group. Typically, that pre-training is about 3 weeks before the event itself. So if you're not within driving distance, this is a flight for 3 weeks before the event, and then also the weekend of the event, you'll be expected to be there. The flights or the pre-training does not necessarily need to be on a weekend. It could be on one evening. It could be on a weekend. It could be on a holiday. Like, for example, I think Veterans Day was one that they've done in the past where the girls don't have school, and so it really worked for the facilitator to fly out on a Monday morning, do the training, and then fly home on Monday evening. And she was home with her kids by that later that evening and didn't have to take a day off work. That is up to you to decide, and that's up to your schedule. Being a fit, you won't have to do that pre-training. If you are within driving distance, it'd be great if you would do the pre-training just so that you can see how that is delivered. But again, only lead one will do the pre-training. Lead one and lead two will do the Friday night training, and that's the Friday before Girls Academy begins. So Girls Academy will begin on a Saturday morning, but you're expected to get there Friday around 3 p.m., and that's because we have about 4 to 6 hours worth of training on Friday night. It truly depends on how well prepared the chapter is. If the chapter is really well prepared, that training may only look like 2 or 3 hours. If the chapter is way far behind, you may be up until midnight, 1, 2 a.m., making sure that everything's taken care of. So that's where all of the pre-work will need to play, or that's where all of the pre-work will really come into play, because you'll be able to make sure that none of those things are happening so that once we hit the Friday night training, there aren't any surprises. Additional responsibilities of the facilitator also include executing the Girls Academy weekend. So you're going to assist the chapter in school with any parent concerns that maybe, I skipped ahead. With any parent concerns, you're going to want to keep the group on time. The event timeline is truly your Bible for the weekend. You need to make sure that you are meeting that every minute. It truly is broken down by the minute. So please make sure you're continuing to watch that. You will also stay at the middle school with all of the girls. In addition, there will be probably some alumni association members that may stay overnight. Your event staff will stay overnight. And then the on-site administrator will also stay overnight. So this program, there's a requirement that at least one individual from the school is on the premises at all times that we are on the premises. So that individual will also be there should there be any concerns, but you are expected to be there. Once you get there on Saturday morning in the school, you don't leave until graduation has ended. And then after, you want to make sure that you're working with your chapter to ensure that all of the that all of the evaluations have been submitted to us. Again, I talked about this a little bit on the webinars last week. Those evaluations are truly one of our only ways to assess this program. And so we want to make sure that we actually get those back. So please follow up and make sure that we're getting those back. You are responsible for making sure that the chapter ships their supplies back to us. We leave the school in the same situation and in the same condition that it was in when we got it. And then you're responsible for helping to coach them through the post-event. So we do try and have them do a post-mentoring event. So this is going to be, it's typically like 6 to 8 weeks after their Girls Academy event. You can work around holiday schedules. If you have one late in the spring, they could do one post-mentoring event as soon as they get back in the fall. Whatever works best for the chapter, but we want to make sure that they're actually doing it. We all know that the more touch points you can make with any student on a certain topic, it's going to stick a little bit better. And so it'll be really important that we continue to have these post-mentoring activities. This is an area where the program has struggled in the past because there are not many chapters that have actually followed through with that expectation. So it would be really helpful with you as FITs and then soon to be facilitators that you could have that conversation and make sure that we're actually doing these post-mentoring events. Meals and housing. So all of your meals will be covered by the chapter for the Girls Academy event. If you're there for a pre-training that 3 weeks beforehand, they will make sure that if you're there during a meal time or if you have to stay overnight, that you are housed and that they feed you. And they will also work to do the same thing for the Girls Academy weekend itself. Typically, you'll eat when the meals are provided to the participants, just because that's when everybody eats. But keep that in mind. If you have a dietary concern, it's really important that you work with the chapter about that beforehand, because sometimes these schools are not in the most convenient locations, or they don't have cars to get you to and from. So you need to be prepared for that before you leave for Girls Academy. Housing, you will be provided housing by the chapter. So if you're there for the pre-training and need housing, you can either stay with an alumni association member, you can stay in the chapter house. They may decide they want to rent you a hotel, whatever works, but that should not be an expense of yours, nor will it be an expense of the national fraternity. That is the expectation of the chapter and the alumni association, to make sure you are housed. Same thing for the Friday night before Girls Academy. You're not sleeping in middle school that night, so please make sure that they are planning to house you somewhere. You could stay with the lead facilitators. As a lead facilitator, you could stay with the other lead facilitator. We've really got to be flexible for that weekend, so please just keep that in mind. Resources. So, and actually, I'm going to back up real quick. So in addition to the meals and the housing, other things that you can get reimbursed for are going to be your travel, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. So you'll be reimbursed for mileage. You'll also be reimbursed for if there's airport parking, but you will not be reimbursed for meals if it's happening during travel time and your travel time is not 5 hours or longer, or if your travel time starts or ends at the location of like a meal time. So for example, say you're flying out of Chicago at 9 a.m. At 9 a.m., that's breakfast time. Don't plan on eating breakfast at the airport unless you plan on paying for that. That will be on you. And then say you're flying all the way to San Diego. You fly through lunch. When you get to San Diego, grab yourself lunch or dinner, whatever meal is at that point in time. That will be on the fraternity. And then at that point in time, the chapter will take over any meal expenses of that. So please keep in mind that we really don't reimburse a ton for meals. If you have any questions, let me know. But I just want to make sure that we're all aware of that. We also will not reimburse for more than $15 at lunch and $20 at dinner. Resources. So the website, we do have a Girls Academy webpage on the website, which is really helpful for you. It does have some videos. It talks a little bit more about the program, etc. But we don't really keep any of the actual documents on the website anymore, because people were downloading them and then we're never getting the new documents. So I've taken those off the website, but the website is still a good space for you to read more about the program or direct parents that may have concerns or anything like that. You will be getting a curriculum book. I said that the event guide is the Bible. This is truly the Bible for you. You are expected to take it with you to Girls Academy. It will have an event guide in it. It will have the Girls Academy journal that the participants get in it. It will have your curriculum. It's going to have other important information that you'll need to have, so that if for some reason copies be made or you're missing something, you have it right there in your binder that you're able to look at it. Please don't plan on sending this back. I will mail you a new one anytime that there's a change to our event guide or our curriculum or any of our documents. I'll mail you something new. But for right now, that's what you will really use as your main resource. In addition to that curriculum book, everything that's in the curriculum book plus more is on the Kappa Cloud. And so you will be able to review all of these things that are listed here on the Kappa Cloud. If you're having trouble getting into the cloud, please let me know. It's cloud.kappakappagammon.org, and then you just sign in with your information. I didn't put this on here, but another resource for you is our YouTube channel. This will also be uploaded to our YouTube channel, so you are more than welcome to go through the YouTube channel and read or listen to old Girls Academy webinars. The more you become familiar with it, the better. I'm not saying that you have to go and read through all of those. You can absolutely listen to them on your own time, or you don't have to listen to any of them at all because they are rather lengthy. But just keep that in mind, that if you are confused about something, there may be some information within that could help you. So overall funding expectations. Chapters and associations are expected to raise $4,900 for this program. Right now, that's the sweet spot that we found. When this program first started, I know that the fundraising expectation was over $8,000. We've had it lower than $4,900, and we seem to not be able to cover all of our expenses. So for right now, it's at $4,900. That could change, so please stay tuned on that. But for the chapters that you'll work with this academic year, it will be $4,900. Funding assistance chapters are expected to raise $2,900. So we do have a little bit of money through the Kappa Foundation that I can offer a grant to 2 chapters per year. Those chapters have to apply for that grant, but it can be awarded up to $2,000. And essentially that means that the chapter just has to pay us $2,000 or $2,900, and we'll buffer them with the extra $2,000. We do have a few chapters that are self-funded. One of these chapters is Loyola Chicago. The other is Minnesota. Self-funded chapters essentially mean that they don't really use any of headquarters support. They have purchased all of their supplies themselves, so I don't send them supplies, and they're expected to send headquarters $1,000, and those cover the few things that they can't purchase themselves. For example, the Girls Academy journals, you have to buy those in bulk. You also have to buy the team bags in bulk, and there's something else that you have to buy in bulk. So those cover those costs, as well as the small administration fee and then the postage and delivery. So if you're working with one of those 2 chapters, they are self-funded. They are not expected to raise $4,900, but that's something to keep in mind. Funding for this event is due 60 days before the event. There is really no leeway on that. If we don't have the $4,900 or $2,900, depending upon your circumstance, by that 60 days, you more than likely will not be permitted to host. Unless there's some extenuating circumstance, we know a check is on its way, it just hasn't gotten here, or there's some huge issue, we more than likely will not be allowing you to host, and the money that you've raised thus far will be either A, donated to the foundation, or B, if we have the ability to defer you as a chapter, we will. But we more than likely are not going to be able to defer you as a chapter because this program is growing exponentially. A couple of years ago, this program really only had 5 or so chapters a year that participated, and we're looking at just in this next biennium having about 30 different schools participate in Girls Academy. So there's a huge need for it. And so typically if we don't have a lot of event spaces that are open, we won't be able to defer. So please keep that in the back of your chapter's minds as well. This is something that is new for this year, but additional grants are available for excess funding. So I did talk about this on the webinars last week, but we don't want to punish our chapters for over fundraising. If they send us more than $4,900, we want them to be able to access that money for good use. So we will allow them to potentially use that money for either food or post-mentoring activities up to $1,500. This does require an extra grant, and it is something that will require approval from the fraternity council as well as the foundation board of trustees. And then I will notify the chapter if they've been accepted and at what dollar figure they've been accepted. But we want to make sure that they know that that's available to them. Food, snacks, drinks are not included in the money that is sent to headquarters. They're expected to raise that money extra or get those things donated. Totally possible that they can get them donated. There are Girls Academies that do that every single year. So I have no concern about that being a possibility, but I recognize that there are chapters that may not want to do that. So if they have money in chapter budget, association budgets, or if they can over fundraise and apply for one of these grants, great. But they are expected to have all of those funds raised themselves as well. The link that's here below, I'm not going to click out of it, but this is available for you. You can also see it by going to the Kappa webpage, or go to kappa.org, and then up in the top right-hand corner, there are a whole bunch of different options. If you go under education, the Girls Academy tracker will pop up in the bottom right-hand corner, and that shows you all of the Girls Academies that are on the docket to host and at what percentage to total they are to being fully fundraised. So for example, I'm just going to pick on one of them. I know Arkansas, as of this morning, was at 12%. Well, that means that Arkansas is only 12% to $4,900, which I think equates out to a little over $600. Another good example is Santa Clara and Berkeley. They were at 142%, which means they have over fundraised by 42%. So they are going to be requesting some of those funds back to use for post-mentoring and or food. So please keep on them about that. This is truly one of our biggest places where chapters let this fall through the cracks. School information. Girls Academy, we expect that it's done in a middle school. 6th to 8th grade is our age range. If for some reason we're talking 5th graders, not a terrible thing, but please let me know because we may modify some things here and there. We want 50 participants, really no more, no less. 50 participants is the sweet spot. We do send supplies for 55 just in case extra people show up and we don't want to turn somebody away, but 50 participants is where we're at. That's how the school gets their stipend. It's off of 50 participants. So we want to make sure that's where our sweet spot is. We'll want to make sure that we ask for Wi-Fi and internet access so our volunteers can access the Kappa Cloud should they need it. That's also where all of the videos for the program will be housed. We do send you a PowerPoint. However, I'm seeing pretty frequently that PowerPoint is not taken on a jump drive. They just try and download it when they get there. The PowerPoint on the Kappa Cloud needs to be saved. It's a save as, put it on your desktop, and then open it from there. It does not open directly in the cloud. It's too large. So make sure that you recognize that as well. School administrator should be on site at all times. This is the school has to supply at least one individual that will be there during the entire program. They can take shifts, so if they have 2 or 3 administrators, that's okay as well, but we want to make sure that somebody is there on the premise at all times. If for some reason you get there and that's not going to be the case, you need to call me immediately so that I can get on the phone and start having conversations with that school. Please reiterate that this is an overnight experience. There have been a number of times that chapters have really not recognized that this is an overnight experience until a couple of weeks before the event. Don't really know where that gets lost, but somehow it gets lost, somewhere it gets lost. So please keep that in your mind as well, that you not only need to expect that, but so do the chapters and so do the participants. And then we need to review school materials with the chapter and association so that they can reiterate and articulate all of this information to the parents and the guardians appropriately. We don't want them selling a program that is not really the program that we're giving them. So please make sure that they understand Girls Academy, that you understand Girls Academy, and if there are any questions about the program, that we can talk through those as we are working to either A, coordinate a middle school to work with us, or B, after we have secured the middle school. Important pre-event details. All materials needed for the event are going to be sent to the chapter and association representative prior to the program. It's their responsibility to check these materials to make sure they have everything. I talked about this again on the webinars last week. Number of times that people have called me the day of or the day before and have been in a panic because they don't have everything that they need. I am 100% human, and so I do make mistakes. And so we want to make sure that these are actually there and that everything has been checked through. They will be expected to also purchase some supplies on their own. Those are also reimbursable, but they are expected to make sure that those are purchased before the Friday night before their event. We don't want them to be going out that Friday night and not be able to find something, i.e. flip charts, incredibly difficult to find. And so those need to be ordered a couple weeks ahead of time. So yes, it is their responsibility to check on those things, but it would be really helpful if you as the facilitator in the future and also as the fit now are checking in with them and saying, hey, have you opened those boxes? Have you double checked that Hillary sent you everything? Pre-training, we talked about that a little bit. 3 weeks before, just lead 1. Lead 2 sometimes will go if she's within driving distance, but is not a requirement. And it truly is a full day training. So it's about 6 hours long. There are some facilitators that can get through it in about 4, but I would plan for 6, especially if it's your first pre-training. The entire chapter is there, the association's there during certain points, etc. So you'll want to read through all of those documents as well, because there will be certain people that are supposed to be there at certain times. And then during the Friday night training, everybody involved with GA should be at that training. There should be no ifs, ands, or buts about that. They know that Girls Academy for the chapter and association begin Friday evening at 4 p.m. Day of event and event resources. I said this earlier, follow the event guide to the minute. Have the staff understand what supplies are needed when. So they need to recognize, oh, we need to get batteries to the leadership fair for the RC cars, and the leadership fair is going to start at 6:30. So we want to make sure that those are there and ready in the room by 6:15. That kind of a thing. We need to make sure that we're foreshadowing and have that foresight so that those issues are not happening where it's 6:30 and the small group facilitator is texting somebody saying, hey, oh my gosh, we don't have the stuff we need. We can't put together this RC car, help. So just make sure that we're reviewing those. Again, very detailed within the curriculum as well as the event guide. Saturday night activities, you can do games, you can do karaoke, they can do skits, they can just have a dance party, they can scrapbook, they can do whatever their little hearts desire. I know 9 times out of 10 the chapters get really creative with what they want to do, so keep that in your mind as well. I know in the past this program has had Saturday night activities where we've done their hair and their nails and makeup and everything. We've taken that part of that piece out of this program because we don't feel as though that's really portraying the message that we want to deliver during Girls Academy, which is self-respect, self for others, having confidence, self-esteem, etc. Last thing, make sure you have access to the Kappa Cloud. That'll be something that'll be really helpful for you. So making sure that you have either internet access, Wi-Fi, something of the sort. Again, if you need to print something last minute, it's all in the cloud. So that's going to be really beneficial for you. Travel. And actually, I don't think, this is supposed to be the last slide. I'm going to add in one more slide. I don't know why I didn't do post-event. But post-event, we talked about that a little bit. You will be expected to help with the evaluations. You're also going to be expected to help with getting everything shipped back to headquarters and making sure that the chapter has done everything that they need to do. You as facilitators will be responsible for filling out a post-event report that will be sent to me once that's finished. So that'll be something that I'll be asking you each to do individually. And then you will also help facilitate, but it is not a requirement that you do it. You will help facilitate the stipend reimbursement that is given back to the school. So the reimbursement that's given back to the school is a maximum of $1,000. This $1,000 will cover any janitorial fees, school rental fees, administrator stipends, anything like that the school could potentially say, hey, we had to open the school this weekend and it was $900 for us in operating costs. What are you going to do to help us with that? We offer them this $1,000 stipend. The stipend is broken down in a number of ways. Number one, it's broken down to $20 per head per participant. So if they have 50 participants at $20, they automatically start at their $1,000 maximum. Say they only have 45 girls show up. The maximum that they're going to get and they're out of that stipend is $900. Say they have 55 girls show up, because that's happened before. Maximum they're going to get is $1,000. It will never be more than $1,000. That $1,000 is then prorated based upon how many post-event evaluations we get back from the parents. Again, really important we get that data and that assessment. So that's where you will be really helpful in making sure that you're following up with them to collect those evaluations, because we don't get those right after the program. You normally have to wait about 2 to 3 weeks and then you collect those. So that is done on a sliding scale. So it's prorated based upon a sliding scale. If we have 75% of the evaluations, they'll get 100% of their stipend, their maximum allowable stipend. If we have 50 to 74% of our evaluations back from our participants' parents, they're going to get 75% of their stipend. 25 to 49%, they're going to get 50% of their stipend, and so on and so forth. I figure out the dollar amount, but that will be your responsibility to make sure that we get those evaluations back. If we don't get back evaluations, the school will not get their stipend. The school is also supposed to request their stipend within 4 weeks of the event. If you have an event that's in the spring, our books close on June the 30th. So if their event is April the 15th, they really will only have 6 weeks to get that to us because we will have to process to check and get it out. So please make sure that you're very cognizant of that as well. I do have the right to say no to a school stipend after their deadline has passed. I typically will not, but please keep that in mind. It is not your responsibility to request the stipend. That is the school's, but you can help guide and facilitate that conversation in the time being. Lastly, I want to talk about travel. Diane at Century Travel is who you will book through if you need a flight. You can email her at diane@centurytvl.com, or you can call her. I can give you her phone information later in the process. You do not want to book more than 4 to 5 weeks before the event. Sometimes things happen and the event gets canceled. We do not want you stuck with a flight or something that can't be used that Kappa's now had to pay for because the chapter, for some reason, couldn't get their stuff together. Participate in both pre-training and the event if you are local and can drive. If you're not local, you'll just participate in the event itself. You will not do the pre-training. If you don't require a flight and you're driving, you'll submit your mileage to me through a requisition form. We submit mileage at 40 cents a mile, and so I'm more than happy to submit that back to you as well. And then I talked about this a little bit earlier. You're reimbursed for parking at the airport if needed, or Uber to the airport if needed, that type of a thing. So just work with me on that so that we can discuss any travel that may be difficult. Diane truly is great. She really, really, really helps me when it comes to, hey, so-and-so is having a hard time getting to the Chicago airport. Can we pay for their shuttle? Or can we do this? Can we do that? She kind of spearheads that conversation, so I'm not really concerned about you all having problems with that, but just keep that in the back of your mind as well. So please do not book any flights yourself. If you do book a flight yourself, we will not reimburse you for it. We have to have Diane book your flight for you. You will tell her what Girls Academy you're going to. You'll tell her what time you need to be there and what time is the earliest you can leave, and then she'll work with you to find the best flights at the best rate. So with that, that is all that I wanted to cover tonight. I'm going to open it up for questions. As you can see here, my email is there. You all have it. You should have received an email from me this morning with some more information in it. The first phone number that's there is my office number, and the second phone number is my cell phone number. It is beneficial to take down my cell phone number just because we don't want you to have an issue during the event and not be able to get a hold of me. Good thing is, if you call my office number or if you shoot me an email, I get emails on the weekend and my voicemail to my office comes straight to my email. So I'm able to access that as well. So there really should never be a point in time where you're not able to get a hold of me. But please take down that information and make sure that you put it in your phone so that you have it should you need it. So with that being said, that's the end of the webinar. I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes. Please type in any questions that you may have now. And if I don't see any questions, you all know how to get a hold of me. And this will be available via recording probably by the end of the week is my guess on the YouTube channel. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions at this point. If you are in the process of typing a question, go ahead and raise your hand. That way I don't sign off. But as questions arise, or if there's anything more that you want to know about the program, please let me know. I will tend to send a lot of communications through email. We probably will not do another webinar before your Girls Academy events happen. So please make sure you're touching base with your lead facilitators, your chapters and associations. And if there are any questions or problems that arise, you guys all know how to get a hold of me. Thanks, everybody, and I hope you have a great night. Bye.